Thanks everybody for coming tonight. I wanted to start with the statement, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Because everybody is saying, oh my gosh, isn't this outstanding? We have been given, it's been like Shaklee Christmas with all of the gifts that we've been given and all of the material. I do want to acknowledge a new attendee. Susie, why don't you introduce your guest?
Great, yeah, I have a new partner that lives in town. His name is Steve. Hey, Steve.
Or Bill?
Bill, Jesus, I'm sorry.
What?
See, I'm a morning person. So Bill, he's probably like, who? Bill, we were working together today and he had a little trouble getting on the Zoom. So this is Bill. I'm an entrepreneur and totally into health.
Okay, well, welcome, Bill. Nice to have you. My name is Joanne Nistico. I'm a Shaklee Master Coordinator. Susie tried to get me to be on your Zoom with you today, but I was in another appointment. And all these beautiful people here are other Shaklee business builders and leaders all over the country. So maybe what we can do to give Bill a feel of who we all are, we'll go through the room and you can say your name and where you're from. Why don't we start with, or go to the right of the screen to me, or why don't we start with Scott? He's at the head of the list there. Scott Holden.
Hey there, I'm Scott. Sue's waving. That's my better half over there. We're in Mesa, Arizona. Basically, we've taken the home-based business and turned it into a wheels-based business as we're traveling the country.
Great.
Nice. Betsy Lunsford, Fort Myers, Florida.
Go ahead, chime in, everybody. It's Erna, go ahead.
Erna Herman from Romeo, Michigan.
I'm Pam
Laura
Bunner.
Larson, Williamsburg, Virginia.
Pam Bunner, just outside of Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow.
Terry Sweeto from Miami Beach.
David.
David Swain, Manchester, New Hampshire. Been with Shaklee for 42 years now.
Yep, quiet.
Sheila.
Hi, Sheila Gray. Just outside of Frederick, Maryland, near Harpers Ferry, West Virginia.
Sue.
Welcome.
Sue.
Sue Prichnicki from Medina, Ohio.
Okay, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer Cancio from Vero Beach, just like you.
Carolyn.
Carolyn Meitman from the Florida Keys.
Lane Sherba, do you have a unmute button?
Yeah.
That's Lane Sherba from Michigan. Who else do we have here? Earl Knudsen. You have an I'll ask you. Go ahead, Earl.
Earl Knudsen, San Diego.
Wow.
Oh.
Hey, Wanda.
I'm Wanda Garcia from Miami, Florida.
Sue Ann.
Hi, Sue Ann Rapine, Germantown, Maryland.
Okay, I think we've met all of us. So I'm going to continue. And Bill, we're having a discussion tonight. I host what's called Tips from the Top. And tonight I have a very special guest I've interviewed named Mollie Pratt. She's a highly successful, strong business leader, master coordinator who's built a multi-million-dollar business. She lives in, where does Mollie live now? She's in Florida, but I'm not sure where in Florida.
I think she may be in Vero.
She's
She's
Vero.
still here in Vero. She's in south of Vero on the Barrier Island.
Okay, so we're going to be hearing from her in a minute. And what I was saying is, how do you eat an elephant? We've just had our Shaklee Global Conference. I know that Susie will be sharing a lot of the great information. And I said, you know, how do you eat an elephant? Rather than getting one bite at a time. Pam said something beautifully yesterday at our meeting where Pam, you want to reiterate what you're doing with all these new tools that you mentioned yesterday about how you're doing what you do in the morning? Yeah, unmute.
Sorry, yep. So I can feel easily overwhelmed. It's like Joanne said, it's been Christmas and Santa Claus has just come down and left so many presents under the tree. And you're kind of thinking, oh, it's just a little overwhelming. I don't know which one to play with. I don't know what to do with them. So I just decided every morning I'm going to go to my Share app and I'm going to one little tutorial, one little function, and I'm going to do it, view the tutorial or do the exercise. So I actually learn one thing every day. That's what I'm going to do.
And focus on one or two things. So
Yeah.
I'm building and working with a couple of new business builders that are new in my business. And I am focusing on a few items that I know that I want to focus on. One is the Triple Defend Boost. I think that's an incredibly powerful leader product that everybody's going to want and have in their arsenal. But my number one priority of product introduction for my new builders is the Meology Prove It Kit. And to enter that way, because that's the smartest way, the best way, not only even for the business builder, but also for the new consumer. They'll get the best results on the product. They'll get the whole personalized nutrition program for themselves. So they'll really step into it in the correct way. And then of course it's up to us. I had a great conversation and an appointment today that we're the marketing arm and the educating arm for Shaklee Corporate, which is our umbrella producer of our great science-based products. So tonight I'm going to show tips from the top with Mollie Pratt. I don't know how the AV will work. Lauren couldn't make it tonight, but I think it'll flow okay. And what I want you to look at is Jennifer Cancio, when we did Don Semeka, he said something to her that triggered one of the biggest aha, and I've coached Jennifer now for a while, and he said something to her that really clicked for her, that really made her whole, I think there was a whole paradigm shift, wouldn't you say, Jennifer?
Yeah, definitely.
And I've seen it in your activity and what you're doing. So maybe Mollie Pratt's the person for you. Maybe there'll be a great aha moment and paradigm shift that will shift you into massive action, as is Jennifer. So let me, I have it up, just a second. Share my screen, make sure I do audio. And I'm gonna start here. Hold on one second. Up. There we go. She didn't take that off. Sorry about that. Anyway, that's Mollie Pratt, tips from the top. And this is my interview with Mollie. Well, hello, everyone. This is Joanne Nistico, Shaklee Master Coordinator, and I have the great privilege of having a conversation with a very dear friend, Mollie Pratt, who's a long-standing, successful woman entrepreneur for many years. Mollie, thanks so much for saying yes to being a part of Tips from the Top.
My pleasure.
And what I'd like to ask you is, you've had a very successful career in Shaklee. Hold on, sorry. There you go. Well, hello, everyone. This is Joanne Nistico, Shaklee Master Coordinator, and I have the great privilege of having a conversation with a very dear friend, Mollie Pratt, who's a long-standing, successful woman entrepreneur for many years. Mollie, thanks so much for saying yes to being a part of Tips from the Top.
My pleasure.
And what I'd like to ask you is, you've had a very successful career in Shaklee. You've really created, along with your partners, a multi-million-dollar business in the network marketing industry. And there's so many people now really looking at that and how they can be a part of it and how they can also strive to be successful. We specifically in the Shaklee Company and Corporation, we feel how strong that company is and as the best. What would you say that drove you to Shaklee first off, and then possibly, maybe share a little bit of your story, because we love stories first, and then we can go into how you've managed to build a multi-million-dollar business.
I won't go with our whole story because that would take too long, but the initial thing to answer your question of how did we come across it in the first place is my then husband. We're now just partners. We're divorced, so we're partners in this business, which is another unique thing all by itself, the fact that you could and do. But originally, we were 29 and 30 and living in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where Rocky had just gone to Vietnam and gotten.
I'm so sorry. Well, hello, everyone. This is Joanne Nistico. And what I'd like to ask you is, you've had we specifically in the Shaklee Company and Corporation, we feel how strong that company is and as the best. What would you say that drove you to Shaklee first off, and then possibly, maybe share a little bit of your story, because we love stories first, and then we can go into how you've managed to build a multi-million-dollar business.
I won't go with our whole story because that would take too long, but the initial thing to answer your question of how did we come across it in the first place is my then husband. We're now just partners. We're divorced, so we're partners in this business, which is another unique thing all by itself, the fact that you could and do. But originally, we were 29 and 30 and living in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where Rocky had just had flown to Vietnam and gotten out of the Navy and had gone to work for Northwest Airlines, had spent that first year as a probationary pilot, which was everybody had to do. And then, but within about 2 weeks of that year being up, he was then hired on as a full-time guy. And we were excited about what the future was going to bring. It was great. Our children were little. They were 3 and 5 at that point. They were, as I say, little. And we had bought a house. And so we went out, we had moved out to Burnsville, which is kind of out in the valley from the city, but close enough to the airport nonetheless. And bought another car, just doing what people do to get on with their lives, and thinking that the airlines were going to be our future. But we were also had been actively looking for something else to do to fill in those blanks of the fact that pilots are only allowed legally to fly 40 hours a month, or at least they were in those days. I don't know what it is now, but there was clearly going to be a lot of other time in between. And we were looking for something we could both do, so that in case he was away on a trip, that we could, it wouldn't matter. We both did it. And so that was our criteria. We had actively been looking, and someone had even exposed us to Amway, but nothing got our attention, honestly, as much as something should have, but they didn't. Meanwhile, Rocky had come across some people whom we became friends with, who she used the Shaklee products. She used the Basic H and the laundry products mostly. And she was a very antiseptic housekeeper, which I have other things to do. I'd rather not. I'd rather have somebody else do the cleaning for me. And I mean, my house is clean and tidy and all this stuff.
Got it. I understand completely.
More stuff. Anyhow, she was obsessed with it. So I thought, well, gosh, if it works for her, it works for me. But it also was environmentally correct, which back in 1970, which was how long ago it was, that was kind of a new idea. And of course, Minneapolis is the land of 10,000 lakes. And I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay, so that I spent my summers underwater most of the time. And so I was really tuned in to the fact to living outside. I mean, I spent a whole lot of time outside as a kid growing up and loved every minute of it. So it mattered to me what was going on with that. I mean, and I was also concerned about the safety of the household products for my children, because, kids will eat what you tell them not to eat, and they get into all kinds of things. And these were deemed to be safe, and we learned later that it was listed with a poison control as being non-toxic, et cetera. So it was interesting to me. So she gave us the cleaning products as a basic agent and the laundry product as a housewarming present, which Rocky thought was, you know, a ridiculous present. He couldn't imagine giving somebody cleaning products for a housewarming present. But I loved them, and I used them all wrong, and they still worked. It was great. And so I ran out, but meanwhile, Welcome Wagon had left a little sample of Basic Age with us because we had just moved in. I called the number on that little bottle, and that person came over to our house.
Wow.
He was bringing Basic Age to me and a catalog because I had run out. Imagine running out of Basic Age in like 2 months, so 3 months. It was obviously I used it all wrong, but it still worked. So he came over to bring that, but when he drove up, he saw the Northwest sticker on the car and realized that there was probably a laid-off pilot inside. So he came in and he really didn't even look in my direction. He kind of put the product down and the catalog down, but focused on Rocky and said, are you one of those people affected by this layoff? Rocky said, I sure am. And he said, well, I bet you could use some extra money. Okay, and Rocky sort of looking at this guy a little bit sideways, like, where's this going? And he said, how much would be of use? And he said, about $1,000 a month would work. So Jim proceeded to tell him about the Shaklee business, not the products, but the business. And that was
that Jim Boyd?
It was Jim Boyd.
Okay.
And he, the brilliant factor is that he, knew the sales plan, so he could do that and recognize that that would be the need in this household. If he had focused on me and only talked about the products, who knows what our life would be today, honestly. But as it happened, he focused on the business plan and Rocky was, as I say, he was questioning this in the beginning, but as he's smart, so he caught on pretty quickly. And he ended up going to Jim's meeting that night, and we were going to take the real estate exam the next day, which we did do, actually. I stayed home and studied. He went to Jim's meeting. We both passed and got the same grade, but I studied, he didn't, but that's okay, it all worked. And he came back all fired up about this whole thing, and I was kind of wide-eyed about his responses. But Jim, the next day, Jim said, there's a big meeting in Minneapolis this weekend, as it happens, and I'd love to pay for a babysitter for you two to come with us to go to this meeting. It's called a Cola Powwow. And we were excited about having a babysitter at our option. So we went, and I was very skeptical. I thought, oh my gosh, these people are going to be so slippery, and it's going to be, you know, zoot suits and blue suede shoes. It just sounded way too good to be true. In fact, what I saw were a whole lot of people just like us talking about products as they used them in their own houses. Roy Mattson, who was at the time, he and Francis were among the early master coordinators, but he stood up and shaved in front of all these people with Basic Age in the front of the room. And Sharon Feller had a new baby then, and so she talked about the Small Wonder baby products. These are people just telling stories, as you say, stories of their lives and how these products and business had impacted it. So what I learned that day was what nice people are attracted to this business and involved in it, and what the value of the products. And I mean, I just went home feeling really good about it. So we decided we would give it a go. It didn't cost anything in those days. And so we just talked about it with people we knew. We talked about products that we were familiar with, and little by little bought new products every week and began to Shakleeize our house. I was not interested at all in the nutrition because I love to cook, and good food is super important to me to this moment. And so we didn't eat a lot of junk and that kind of thing. So we, but you know, there's greater things at hand. I had a situation where I had my dentist suggested that I needed to use the protein or some kind of a protein. He didn't care what I used. So anyway, little by little, it's a long story to go through all that, but I definitely learned about the nutrition. I gave it to the kids, and they had runny noses and coughs, which my theory is little kids are close to the ground and they get all the drafts and the germs and so forth. Spent a lot of time on the lower levels of the house. So next thing I know,
Safety and purity in our home with the cleaners is so critical, as well as the nutrients. Well, share with me a little bit about how that transitioned from some great products that you realized were helping your family, helping you, even though you were a great cook, loved food, made a difference, transformed into the multi-million-dollar business that you have today.
important point. Glad you asked that part, because what we learned also, and what all the advice from our uplines who were at that time making $10,000 and $7,000 a month, what, not Jim Boyd, but the uplines from there. And that was an astronomical amount of money. I could not even imagine what that would be like. I mean, I don't know, but I knew that I always used to say that I always knew that if we made that kind of money, I know how to spend it.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, sadly enough. But anyway, what we learned, so we went to those meetings. It was very important. We went to the meetings every week, Tuesday nights at a hotel meeting in Minneapolis. Very important, because we heard a lot of other stories. We learned a lot about, how people were doing and what they were doing to be earning this kind of an income. So we were equally as interested in the business opportunity, honestly. Both of us were. I mean, that Rocky, it got his attention, and he was the one who said, this is what I think we should do, without a question. But I caught on to that too. So then we began to give our own meetings, and Rocky gave the sales plan because that's what got his attention. He was terrible at it in the beginning. I was terrible at the stuff I was doing. Everybody starts out, as a novice, so you don't know what you're doing, but you keep at it because you believe in the rightness of your decision to do it. So,
I love that, Molly. That was a great statement. Your rightness of the decision of why you're going to do it. I think that's so profound, really.
Thank you. I really, going to the meetings really helps that, because you have to meet the other people and see who's involved in this thing. And what do you hear there? I mean, can you feel good about representing this company? And keep in mind that the whole business model of such a thing as multi-level marketing was almost unheard of at that point. And people certainly were not typically interested in nutrition. I mean, you were some kind of nuts and berries freak if you were doing that sort of thing. It was just not on everybody's list.
You were a health food nut at that point.
Right, it's true. So, and I was young enough that I didn't really use makeups, and we used to have makeup as well as the skincare, but my experience with that, after I went and had all this stuff put on my face, and I came home, and I was very impressed myself at how it felt. It didn't feel greasy. It didn't feel sticky. It didn't feel like you needed a spatula, It was good. And Rocky made his famous statement of well, you should have done that a long time ago. But I mean, I had to laugh because it was true. I mean, it was an improvement. So it made it easy to sell the products. It really was. So gradually, it's the balance of the two things. Am I making any sense? That the balance of the products, for sure. We definitely Shakleeized our home. We definitely worked our way through all the products. To stay in one is like saying you're only going to talk to vegetarians, or you're only going to talk to people with blue eyes. I mean, that's silly. So it got to be about Thanksgiving, and we decided we would drive back to Annapolis for Thanksgiving, because that's where my family is, and that's where we thought we would probably move there, because he could commute out of there. And we went, and my dad found a house for us that had been foreclosed, but he was in word of the bank, and he could arrange for us to rent this house. So it was a crummy little house that was in the middle of the road, of a very busy part of town. But we just did it because we believed in the rightness of our decision. I mean, honestly, and having gone to those meetings, I think it's fair to say what created the motivation that gave us the momentum to go forward. Because when we moved to from Minneapolis to Annapolis, we were all by ourselves. There was no one we only knew at the time that there was one other business leader in the state of Maryland, and they were in Baltimore, and they were in a different group, and we didn't have the communication skills, or not skills, but technology then that we had now. And products had to be shipped, but it was a commitment of, and again, it goes back to that rightness of our decision. And having gone to those meetings, it really does make you know that it's true and honest.
Yeah, and what's so beautiful, and as we look to closing this call, because we do like to keep it short so other people can watch it and feel comfortable about it. The rightness of the decision for you and Rocky, and I know your daughter is a partner in your business currently. And for those who are viewing this, Mollie has a very strong and affluent business that is caring for the family beautifully, because we have a great message with our Shaklee business model, great products that stand the test of time. We've got a great philosophy. We've got some great, the integrity of the people that you'll see from tips from the top that stand the test of time. And so, Mollie, tell me a little bit, is your daughter working with you on the business, and like my daughter is now?
Yes, and she stuck up her hand about 5 years ago, I guess, and said, I mean, there were other things going on, but she stuck up her hand and said, because her girls were pretty much grown by that time, she had more time. So because she had homeschooled her girls, and she said, I think I can do that. So she's in Tallahassee. I live in Vero Beach. Rocky's mostly in Jacksonville. So none of us was in the same place at all, but technology's made it possible for that. And she has really, if you ever asked her that question, she would say she has really enjoyed the opportunity to get to see really what we do and how it blends in. And remember, she grew up with a lot of these people. So she has very fond memories of her childhood in Shaklee. So she was—
As many of our kids do.
Oh, 100%. I mean, my gosh, yeah. And they traveled the world with us throughout. I wanted to say another thing because I think it's important, because we do pass this on to our families, whether that's our immediate family or whether that's in the organization. And one of the things that I think has made it important is that at those meetings, we learned something about the strategy of how to think about building these businesses. And I think that was integral to how we have, to this moment, applied that to our organization. That is why our organization is as deep and wide as it is, because we're always reaching out to teach others. And we would, if you were our director, for example, and you broke off, you would not be on your own, really. We would still be with you, madly helping you look for people who were going to do what you did. So we were constantly looking within organizations, whether that's a distributor or a casual member or someone who is really looking at the career opportunity. We were always helping them to find the people who were going to do the same thing. And that's a very simplified version of it, but I think that's really critical. And for people who are going to be going to conference, they're going to see that there's a new piece that's coming that's going to blend with that thinking very well.
Yeah, that is so brilliant, really. It's a brilliant message for new people, which is part of why I'm doing this, is not for those that have been around for a long time and who've been with Shaklee, but it's for new people to say, how can I also create a lifestyle and a freedom of my future based upon the Shaklee business model? So that's kind of why I'm doing the tips from the top, other than the fact that I really want to record all the brilliant people that I've been a part of and make sure we have that for sharing with others. So Mollie, I want to thank you so much for saying yes. I know it's not easy to kind of, I didn't give any criteria, everybody. It's kind of like off the cuff. This is the conversation between a good friend and myself on how we've built multi-million-dollar businesses through the Shaklee model. So I want to thank Mollie Pratt very much for being our guest this week. And look forward to what's going to be happening with other tips from the top, because I'm going to keep asking my friends to contribute. So thanks, Molly.
My pleasure entirely. It's such a good idea, Joanne. I love that you're doing this.
Well, thank you so much. It's
Bravo.
been a fun thing to do.
And you and Bridget were really good yesterday, or was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
It was perfect.
Well, they need to ask you and Amy to also do the same thing, because we've got some great, brilliant people, young people coming in, and we're their mothers of them. So it's good to see them taking a part in it. So thanks so much.
My pleasure.
All
Be
right.
well.
Bye-bye. Oops. Okay, now let me see how I get out of here. There we go. Okay, everybody. Well, that was Mollie Pratt. I really loved some of the stuff that she shared with us, because I think it's so in tune with what we saw at the conference. What's interesting about the rest of the call is we started with the topic that we're going to go into next, and that is the Shaklee Share. Let me see here. I'm going to do another share here, but let me open it up. Did anybody get some major aha moments with Mollie's message that they want to comment on? Don't all jump in at once. We will do it, whoever wants to say something. Anybody get goosebumps on a comment that she might have made that said, gee, that makes a lot of sense, and that's where I should focus my attention?
I like the fact that they made a decision. You know, they made a decision. They really weren't sure how it was going to turn out, and they went with it because they knew that was their decision and they were going to move forward. That was all there was to it.
Yeah.
And they have a huge business.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that is a great reminder about one of the just fundamental aspects of the nature of our industry is that it's so portable. Here they were in Minneapolis and moved to Annapolis and didn't know anyone, it seems, other than Mollie's family, and started to build there. I mean, this business is so portable, and even more so now with technology.
Definitely. Now it's so much easier. My goodness, when we first started, those of you who are here, you know, I used to have a 16-wheeler drive down my driveway to drop off cases to me. And, you know, we had a little warehouse in our own home. Now it's just all on this little screen right here. You know, that's how everybody's doing business these days, which is great. So the cost of doing business is so much less expensive. The most expense you really need is right here in the products that you consume yourself. Carolyn, you want to mention anything, say anything about Mollie's comments?
I think one of the things that she talks about and that their business organization represents is working in depth. Because she mentioned that when you have a business leader, when someone is serious, not just, you know, saying they are, but when someone begins to take on, that you work underneath them and you continue supporting them so they're not alone. So that it's, whether it's through like calls, it's into, you know, doing events together, it's however the new technology supports it, but the importance of developing businesses in depth. So it's not just go find somebody and tell them to go off and do it on their own.
Yeah, well, the structure too with the loyalty bonuses, I love. You know, I think it's an excellent, you know, nothing is ever perfect. So you'll be bringing in people as you sponsor people. But if you teach the diagram of working in depth, everyone we see here, of the first levels that are here, it's basically Pam and Susie that are first level. I didn't sponsor Susie. She came up through how many levels? You were third level to me. And I had worked with that whole group. It came from actually, he was my divorce attorney that came in and became a director, who brought in a tennis club, who brought in Susie. Pam, of course, I've known since 9th grade, and Jennifer Cancio is probably third level as well. you know, from me and Sheila, and many of you are down under some of the other first levels that I have. So it's really a community of people that you bring in that are developed as you continue doing these kinds of meetings. And now meetings are done. We don't even have to have them in our home. We're having them in our home through our internet. I'm going to share my screen now. I want to show a little bit of something on the Shaklee Shares, and I'm sure, I would assume all of you have, let's see, I'm going to go here, I think, because I want to then go there. Oops, wait a second, because I've got to make sure I add the audio. New share. Okay, I did do it right. By the way, when I was doing the interview, it looked like I was drinking beer, but because of the suds, it was actually Vivix. Let's see if we have the audio, a video here, clip. Well, hello, everyone. Oh, I don't want to say hello anymore. Let's see here. Oh, well, I don't have Lauren here and I didn't get Scott on time. I think let's have Susie talk about Shaklee Shares concept. We'll start with you, Susie.
Well, Bill was the first person that I tried it out with because we had just gotten it. It was Sunday afternoon. And, you know, I'm not completely tech savvy and I could use it. It was so much easier than any other apps that they've had. So here it is on my phone. I just went and got the, you know, Shaklee Share app. I think Bill got it today. And what's really great is they have tutorials. Like the first day I put something with meology on it. They have a message you can use or you can personalize it. And then it says, where do you want to share it? Email, text, personally, Instagram. Today I went through it and I shared to get a sample. They have training in here on how to give out samples and just little teasers to see if somebody wants something for free, wants some free stuff, and to direct message.
We've sent a sample out to my new health coach, and Bridget is doing it. So she's just super excited. And you know, our children, you know, they're doing, as Pam was saying about her son-in-law and her daughter, they walk around, they're all doing their business on the phone.
Right.
And it's just second nature for them that are in the corporate world or making sure they want to stay in tune with someone. I do have a video that Lauren did for me on Shaklee Shares, but I don't want to frustrate myself to try to go back in there right at this point. How many of you, just raise your hand if you've been able to put Shaklee Share on your phone, raise your hand. Okay, it is a tool that, aside from what Sue and Scott had said about the phone that you need, it really has some incredible tools there. Pam, you want to share your experience and what you've done with it? Because I think you're using it quite a bit.
Yeah, I just had to jump in. You know, I prided myself by saying that I study something every morning, but I also have decided to adapt what Equal Man told us to do, and that is to be flawsome, to be flawed and awesome at the same time. So I'm just trying to go with it and try things. And I did too. I sent a sample just from the phone. I pulled it up and sent it to somebody. And the amazing thing that happens with this, you guys, is that it makes follow-up. You know how we used to put follow-up on index cards and you'd have a file and then you know, it tells you when to follow up. So it sent the thing and then it told me, your sample has been sent to Connor and you have two choices of follow-up text that you can send. So I don't even have to think about the words I'm going to say. I just go to the follow-up thing and it sends the follow-up. Now I did personalize it a little bit. I said, hey, Connor, you know, you can personalize it with 2 or 3 words. and it tells you to do the follow-up. So, I mean, what's not to like about this? It is just so easy. And then I've been texting, I worked with a social media gal a couple of years ago to try and help me get up to speed with Facebook and something. And so we had a working relationship together for a while. And she has a business where she helps people do marketing and online stuff. And so I said, boy, she's going to really love to know that I'm doing this. So I sent her some of the, I sent her the Meology link. I sent her one of the little new quick 1-minute videos that are beautiful. And I just said, hey, Susu, this is what's new with Shaklee. And thank you for, giving me the guts to go into it and that kind of thing. And she, every time she looked at what I sent her, I get a little ping. Susu has viewed your thing. And so throughout the day, it wasn't that she just saw it once. She was going back and looking at these things. And every time she did that, the phone told me that what she was doing. So it gets, it gets you feeling more in tune with what you're putting out there. And then you also know who's not responding to what you're sending out. So it, it gives you immediacy. We all know if we've used Swift Page email news or Constant Contact or any of the other email carriers where you create a piece and you send it out, and then you go back and you look at your open rate and your click-through rate and you kind of see who's there, and then you have a list, and that's great. But that is good data, but this data is like so much faster.
What's also great about it is you have your phone contacts. It has access. You can access your phone contacts. So you can look at who you have in your phone contact list and say, gee, I'd really like to send this to Martin. You go in there to see what, if you want to send the Meology clip to Martin, you then go in there and say, and it pulls up Martin and will send it directly to Martin. So you don't have to go to your desktop or go to somewhere else. It even has all of your Shaklee contact lists. So for many of us who have hundreds and hundreds of names in our downline Shaklee list, we can just go into there and say, well, let me look at 3 to 4 today that I want to send a personal message to, and I think I'm going to send them the Triple Defend Boost information saying, I've really been thinking about you. I want to make sure you stay really healthy during this time when everybody has to build their immune system. And then it's through your phone and it's from you rather than Shaklee Corporation. And we have talked about how people don't care how much you know, they want to know how much you care. That's very important, that you're not just trying to sell them something. You really care about their health. You care about whether or not they're going to actually earn money in the Shaklee business model, whether they're going to increase and how you can help them. But also the fact is very true that they buy and they get involved because of you, because you're their friend, because they can trust you, because you have meaning in their life, and it's not just coming out from someone that you don't have any contact with. And they will, for example, my daughter's introducing me to some new health coaches that are in her world, but they're coming in because of her, not because of my experience and knowledge. I mean, they're calling me Mama Bear now. So, I mean, it's just a totally different perspective, but they're in because of her, not because of my success and expertise. David, have you been using the Shaklee Share?
Just a little. I'm trying to work to get Sylvia on. It may be too late at this point, but and Scott, it looks like, because I tried to get on with my phone, that's what she's down to using. Their electricity is out right now in Richmond. PG&E has shut them off because of the fire danger. And so she's trying to use the cell phone.
She's still having problems with that still going on?
It's going to be going on for a long time. Actually, my favorite winery, Sterling Winery, was wiped out in the last day or so.
Oh, gosh.
Among other things. So anyway, Scott, I don't know. It looks like you have something the waiting room or something going on, because when I tried to get in with my iPhone, it said I had to wait for the meeting host to let me in. And
Yeah, Zoom
So-
did a security change at the first of the month, which
Okay.
kind of today.
There it is.
That
Here we are.
you can no longer turn off the waiting rooms. So what I had been doing is the waiting room would be there, so we didn't have to use passcodes. And then as soon as I opened up the meeting, I would shut off the waiting room, so it didn't matter. So I have a column up on my screen that I just watch, and whenever anybody gets there, I just immediately admit them. I have not seen you or Sylvia come back in on the phones.
Oh, okay, because I went in once with video and once without, and but I didn't stick around for too long.
Oh, no, I've been watching, and some other people have been coming in, late to the meeting, but
Yeah.
I've not seen your name come by. I'm
Sorry.
currently in the, here's the tech thing for people. I'm currently with the support chat at Zoom to find out why they've made this change and how I can get around it. And I currently have 89 people in front of me in line. So
Wow.
at some point I'll get an answer.
Yeah. So, sorry, I didn't mean to. I got called upon and I wasn't prepared because I wasn't doing anything but kind
Okay.
of.
All right, no problem. And we're getting towards the end of the call anyway, and I did have a link to the Shaklee Share that I could show, but what we're going to be doing, and as many of you know, our Wednesday Lunch and Learns, we're changing into Lunch and Learn business huddles, primarily because of all the new material that's going on. And David and Scott have agreed to do a segment on IT stuff and helping to give information so that we can get get up and running with it. Many of us are challenged that haven't been using it. So we'll be doing that, as well as we'll be practicing about the pop-up meetings. So I want you to come ready to participate. This is not I'm going to treat it more like a mastermind group where everybody's going to be contributing. We're facilitators of it, but we're going to want interaction and experience from each of you to say, okay, we're going to do a pop-up meeting. I'm going to have Ernest right now talk a little bit about, how she sees meology. Or I'm going to have Sue Holdren. Okay, Sue, let's do a little quick pop-up meeting. So get prepared, do your studies, we'll work through it. Nobody's going to be, if you feel uncomfortable and you don't want to do it, you're welcome to say, I'm not up for it, I don't want to do it. However, we want you to be practicing, and the whole concept of our Lunch and Learn business huddles are for your business to expand. For your business, not my business, not Carolyn's, not anybody else's, but we want to see your success and we want to help you have the success that you're looking for. So I want to thank you all for being with us. Yes, Pam?
And yeah, I just wanted to share, I have learned through Kevin Sparker that there is a Shaklee Share App support phone number. Here it is, 800-794-8158. That's the support for the Shaklee Share app, 800-794-8158.
And what we'll do is, the IT stuff could probably take 3 hours. We're going to be taking it in bites. David's going to, and Scott are going to work together. David wants to be able to put some, syllabus to it that's going to take us from the beginning and right through that, we all might need that we don't need. I know when Bridget was on a Lunch and Learn the other day, she said everybody either has to take a computer course or we need to know more information to be able to function smoother as we use the Shaklee Shares, because really but I also want to take the monkey off someone's back. I'm not doing it. I'm recruiting and bringing in young people that know how to do it. And I say, okay, go learn it, go do it, review it. And they're getting it, they're doing it, and they're very comfortable with it. So you don't necessarily have to become an expert. find people who are experts. Look for the 35 to 50-year-old people who may be really active on their phone and are health conscious or in the health world and want wellness. And they can do it without you having to really educate them. So don't feel you have to know everything about it yourself. Because I certainly have already gotten 2 new business builders basically and don't know how to do it. Okay, everybody, any questions prior to our leaving?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just real quick, for those of you that have been going through the Shaklee Share app, so tomorrow I blocked off a bunch of time, several hours actually, to get caught up on the products, the pop-up and Shaklee Share. Is the Shaklee Share app business training the place to start, where they have those 2 courses on how to use it? Can anyone advise me on how to get that? I guess pay them the crash course in it.
Yeah, there's a guy named Nate Cox. I think he just does little segments. And the best thing to do is not just to go through the whole thing. The best thing to do, I think, is to view a segment that instructs you on how to do one function, like send a sample, or do one thing, and then do it. Find, either send it to your daughter or identify a customer. Like today I don't want to keep this going, Joanne, if it's too long, because I know you were just trying to wrap it up. But, today I was on the 12 o'clock power hour, and there was a woman speaking. She's a young 30-something. She is grew up as a Shaklee kid. And at the end of her conversation, I learned that she is also a hairdresser. And I thought, Sue Pritchnicki has a lead right now, a woman in the same age range, same, has kids, same profession, hairdresser, and hearing this little segment, because she's on there as a video clip on the Shaklee Share app, would be very powerful for her. So I copied the link from Shaklee Share, sent it to Sue Pritchnicki. I don't know if Sue's still here.
Yes,
I am.
You hear it. So, if you see something there that you think, I just want to urge everyone, don't get so bogged down in the mechanics of it, because it's in the doing of it. At least that's how I learn. I learn best by doing it. Someone shows me something and then I do it. And then I do it again and then I learn it. And then I take the next thing and I do it, so that's how I think you'll also start getting some traction right away with it. Right?
Definitely. And it's not about, it's not about being just
knowing it all at once.
Going to the classroom every day. It's applying it to the new people, because the only way that we build our business is by seeing people. As Dr. Shaklee used to say, see the people. If you're not seeing the people in some manner or form that's comfortable for you, then your business is going to just be by yourself. And that will not build an income stream for you or increase your income stream. Okay, well, thanks everybody for hanging in there. I apologize for my lack of tech and sharing the screen. Lauren wasn't on tonight, but I think we've covered the parts that I most wanted you to see. And on the Lunch and Learn Wednesdays, we'll be exploring more about all the great new information that we've been given the gift of. Have a great night.
You've done good.
Good night.